Welcome to Project Pack number 16, day 11, and this is also day 11 of the 12 Days of Zentangle.
Hi.
My name is Rick.
Hi, I'm Maria, and today we're going to shake it up a little. We're going to work with a tan Zentala or Renaissance Zentala and a black Zentala. I'm just appreciating the texture of the paper, which I just love, and the Renaissance Zentala is my favorite canvas, and I tend to do a lot of things on there. So when the girls said, "Yeah, you're going to get this one," I said, "This would be good."
Yeah, and it really has no up and down or right or left.
So we're going to mark off 4 corners. I think Rick did the same. You did it the same way, huh? And this was genius, right? So you put a square tile behind you, and then just mark off in the middle of those little nibbits that are sticking out, and you got a perfect.
Divided in 4s.
Divided into 4 as perfect as we need it. It's not. Doesn't have to be perfect.
Perfect-ish.
Perfect-ish. I like that. So we're going to draw some lines here and some arcs. And I'm going to the pencil towards the end. You know, the closest to the edge. That's where I want the line to go.
And our goal here is to use all of the materials as much as we can in the project pack to do the project pack.
Right.
And there's a few extra things that we use in this, but you'll see it if you watch through the whole project, and also you can get a sense by, if you haven't already, to please watch the intro video.
Okay. So now we're going to take another Zendala and place it where it's touching that line that those little lines that we just used, and we're going to draw that beautiful arc in 4 places.
And she's doing it face down, so if like me, you go onto the Zendala, you don't have a marked on the front.
Right. So with our handy-dandy scoring tool, I'm going to use the larger ball on the scoring tool. And with a heavy hand, we're going to go on these lines that we just drew.
And Maria's background there is a slate. It's not very totally hard. It's like a mat board.
Right, it's like a suede mat board. So there's a little bit of sponge there as opposed to like a hard table. I feel like it's better, like if you could work on cork or on a writing board, right?
And you can try this and explore maybe on another tile or different material. You might be using different material than us.
And sometimes like a dish towel, a couple of layers of dish towel would do it.
And if you don't have a scoring device, you may actually have one like a knitting needle, crochet, end of a fork or spoon.
And a ballpoint pen that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, that
or a
works
jelly
too.
roll pen that doesn't work, so that roller ball would work just fine. We're going to delineate these arcs with a pencil, and just to kind of give you a sense of where we're going. We might go back and forth and end up doing things that you maybe hadn't anticipated, or maybe you did.
Sort of a version of dot and border going in here.
Right,
dot,
right.
border, string. And turning her tile each time and matching the curve with what's the easiest way for your hand to draw that curve.
Now, again, I'm going to draw this aura on the inside of this arc. Usually I would turn the tile the other way, but I'm more apt to want to go in that curve feel with my hand. So now we have, that looks great.
That's
just
still,
there,
yeah.
So I'm using my 01 graphic, Micron 01 and black. Put a nice orb. It doesn't have to be in the center. I'm not a center person, so I usually kind of go off center a little bit. put a few orbs, and I think that what we end up with was, maybe the size of the top of the pen, a little bit bigger.
Right.
Going to put some ball bearings in here. That's what it reminds me of, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
And just, I love how you do that idea of just squishing it in so that it's going over the lines that hold it and also over the lines of the one next to it. Really fits it. Nice. Looks like those old jewelry pieces that you collect.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to spin around that ball bearing like an S shape, and you'll try to hit the corners. So it's like a slight S shape.
And you see how she's taking off in the sense that she's slightly retracing that orb.
This is a version of Tangle.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done it in a while. It was kind of fun to go back and revisit this tangle. It was wonderful. Did it a lot for a while there. So now I'm going to do 4 more of these little curved S lines, but we're going to go behind those pencil lines.
So in a hollow bar fashion, just drawing underneath.
Mm-hmm. I'm putting a dot there because sometimes it's easier to shoot for that spot if you have something to look at.
But that's your choice.
Right.
And again, turning the tile so you're using the same hand motion each time. So even if yours don't look like Maria's, they will look like themselves when you turn your tile like that.
Kind of spidery, huh?
Mm.
So now we're going to backtrack to about halfway to the existing lines there. You go back, like, I don't know how else to say it, backtrack. And we're going to go with each one of these lines. We're going to shoot for that middle point. Give it a little bit of a curve, kind of a graceful.
Again, drawing behind. So those ones that are to the outside are the ones we're bringing in, because the other ones are sort of already under that border. Really nice sort of petaling effect.
So these here, we're just going to continue it on that pencil line that we had drawn earlier.
Sort of restating that line.
Mm-hmm.
And you can explore which direction of making these lines you like, going from bottom to top, top to bottom.
So we have a spinning fangle here. It looks like it's going to take off if we blow on it, right?
Right, like those little, what are they called? Pinwheels.
Pinwheels, yeah. So we're going to throw a little orb in the center point of mass. What, like where you imagine
It might balance,
it
maybe.
might balance, yeah. And we're going to spin these lines in the other direction. The first ones were S shapes, and this one is more like a number 9.
And again, even though that starting point is really small, she's wrapping that line around it just a little bit of takeoff. Hollow bar to the end.
So now then you can still see we're still doing number 9s. Going to the center.
So on each one of those shapes, we're going to do it or Maria's going to do it into all three corners. And you can see that she's doing each similar stroke on each one, and you may decide to do all three in each one, but sometimes I think you get to have a sense of the impact when you do just one all the way around.
So this round, you can see that we're going to the corner. There's only one corner there in each one of those triangular shapes. And that number 9 is going to end up, this is a beautiful way to do fangle.
Sort of like introducing well concepts into fangle.
Yes, yes. They're pretty, huh?
Well, now you have all those beautiful internal, like reticula to put things in.
So we're looking at this this one image right here. This it's what kind of a shape is that?
Right. So I think picking out which one of these Maria's going to work on.
So with the tip pointing down, we're coming like off that center hub, and we're going to fill that triangular shape with these lines that are coming from that central hub, just giving it a little bit of character.
And notice how she's weighting the line towards the end. See how it's thicker, and you can do that on this paper by a combination of pressure and slowing down. I like that.
So again, we're going to find the one that's pointing down here and take that section and start from the hub and go for that the bead.
So essentially, it's skipping from the
Skipping one,
perspective
right,
of the
right.
center, skipping,
Right.
each one.
So that might even be a better focus if you skip one space.
Right? And what's really cool is, like, no matter what you do, even if it's a little different than what Maria did, just keep repeating it, and it becomes the new pattern.
It becomes the new normal. Yep. And you might discover something that I missed, and that's happened many times before. So don't fear the mistake. You don't fear the mistake. You look for the opportunity that it presents to you.
And as we often say, our objective here is not to have you duplicate exactly what Maria is creating, but to create something that only you can create. And this is just a nice jumping off spot. Right? That's beautiful.
It's giving some momentum. It looks like it's spinning or something. I love that.
Well, I love that alternating texture. It's beautiful.
Oh, look, you can see it up in the left corner of my blotter. See?
Oh, right.
Sort of like that, right?
Yeah.
Now, we're going to find the backgrounds. In each corner, there's a space that's the background, and we're going to fill that in with black. And take your time. Don't go fast. Just really enjoy coloring in, thinking about when you were a kid and had a new box of crayons, how wonderful it was to just fill in spaces. I can remember that. I always colored laying on my belly.
And the smell.
The smell of a new box of crayons. Wow. For me, that was better than apple pie.
And you can explore different ways of filling in, turning your tile, filling the outside first, then filling the inside. And again, this is not something to rush through, like Maria said. Just really enjoying it.
So we got some nice drama there. And I'm going over those lines that delineate that internal shape. What would you call that shape, Rick?
Right, that's like a concave square.
A concave
square with
I'm sure that there's a name for that
Yeah.
shape. If anybody can yell out to us, we might
In
hear
the
it down
comments,
here
right? In the basement.
in the basement.
Right, and you can re-sculpt those in some cases. Just those little extra touches of love.
So I'm restating those curved pencil lines and going around that half circle. Is that like a
Yeah.
semicircle kind of thing?
Semicircle.
And auraing those shapes. Making sure you're going to stop when you get to that down in the corners so that you can get your
Right, get the
auras,
molding
yeah,
in
the
there.
molding in.
That aura-like molding. So it's sort of like, what is it called? That type of window that is half curved above?
Eyebrow dormer.
Eyebrow window?
Like well, it's the dormer.
Palladium window. Is that it?
Palladium. I can't remember. Maybe.
And then
Because
again,
it's a square
auring
window
it.
and then with the palladium at
Right.
the top, yeah. So we're doing the same thing now on this, the complementary semicircle.
It's like one of those seed shapes in bales.
Yes,
Right?
yeah. Look at that. It's already starting to look fun.
Very cool. And just appreciating each step as you're going along. This is not, okay, I want to finish this and get it done. It's the joy of doing it.
So we're going to do a bunch of tipple, which I love the background and texture that tipple does. But I usually have a method to how I put it down because I like to create a pattern within the pattern. So what I do is I start out with one orb that's bigger than the others, and then I start putting down a series a little bit smaller around them, and then keep getting smaller, and then go to another one, and then you put the background of the little tiny orbs that kind of holds it all together as a pattern.
And it ends up looking like a reptile skin, like with
Yeah,
larger and
yeah,
smaller
Yeah.
components.
Beautiful. There's nothing like that beautiful, those like alligator or reptile. I think it's more like a reptile
Yeah.
like you're talking about. It's beautiful. And the colors. Oh. So I'm bouncing around here, putting the big one first, and then adding the different shapes, and then I'm going to go in when I'm comfortable with that and add the small ones to kind of set them off. This is a great exercise to teach kids, and even, I just love to do it. I love the repetition, and I don't have to think about it, and it's beautiful.
And this is like pattern as texture, and whether it's, like even in your sink when you see soap bubbles, there'll be bigger ones and smaller ones, and then smaller ones around the bigger ones, and very, very similar to this. So you could exaggerate this even more.
So now I'm going in with the little tiny ones,
Mm-hmm.
and it almost looks like a Bronx cheer, a continual Bronx cheer.
Right.
And don't be afraid to add love to some orbs that maybe need a little bit of
attention.
sculpting. Yeah. I do that all the time. Sometimes you don't get it the way you want it the first time around.
And you can see how, as they all tie together, there's like this ebb and flow of size, and yet they all meet in a very organic way. It's a very enjoyable background, adding some texture.
We should name this, and I've never done that before. This just. And it does well with shading, because
Right.
you can create effects depending on how you want that to disappear or appear. So we're going to do this on all 4 of these little windows.
And again, taking your time, and an interesting exploration as you're doing this. If you're drawing your orbs clockwise, well, try it counterclockwise or vice versa.
So we're going to fill the more central semicircles, the ones that have those arms coming out. The other, we won't put this particular tangle in, leave those blank.
So in this case, Maria started all of the large ones, just to show you just a different approach.
They are kind of like soap bubbles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine, where we find tangles in this kitchen sink.
Right.
So now doing the dishes has another whole thing. You can study the bubbles.
Inspiration.
Yeah. How pretty is that, right?
So you've got these different layers of texture. You've got circular, you've got those lines, you have solid.
So we're going to drop some double lines in each one of the outer semicircles, and they don't have to be exactly right. But if you start in the middle, it gives you a fighting chance.
Close enough. Might be looking at it at an angle. And again, notice how Maria changes the pressure on her pen, and that may or may not be your style, but it's her style.
I wanted to have something linear for this part, because there were so many curves in the others. And Rick and I talk about phi ratios and proportions, and one of the things I don't know if we read it or somebody else said, that you could use those proportions with light and dark, 1/3, 2/3 light and dark, either way, or 1/3, 2/3 curvy and straight.
Right.
You can work with the color that way, light and dark, all kinds of things. Those proportions in art are so important that they show up. And if you look at a really, really beautiful painting, you'll notice 1/3 of it is dark and the other 2/3 are light, or vice versa. And you can start noticing these proportions everywhere. It gets you to analyze paintings in a whole new way.
So after she has done those straight lines inside, then now this is called coffering, which is to connect those, like molding.
Connect the corners.
Right.
Yeah. This is a beautiful architectural effect, right? In windows or in cement or stone.
And now what you end up doing is creating this. It becomes dimensional even by this. You can just imagine them like faceted as a jewel going up, or faceted as molding going down. And a lot of times we say, okay, doing the auras at a consistent gap, but at the same time you can use that and extremely, contrast, like we were saying, this proportion of balance between thin auras and thicker auras.
But look what that does,
right?
In terms of detail. It just makes things look more, just more complex or more detailed, more like you put more time into it.
And I've always looked at that as if it was like going down like a molding, but now I'm looking at it, it's like it's going up as a jewel.
Mm-hmm. That's true. It could be that way too.
Right?
Like a square cut diamond,
mm-hmm.
or right?
So right.
You can see I took a new tortillon and I'm marking it for this to be a new white smudger, so that it doesn't have any graphite on it. And that lasts just for so long because
Right.
they all become dark ones. But this helps you to remember that this is a white tortillon.
At least starting out that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you can like decorate them, and you can have a
I can
collection
decorate
of
everything.
yeah, right. Can and
There's
do.
no surface that's safe in our house.
Right.
You guys can't even imagine how you can add
Right.
to a thought.
To a surface.
Yeah, yeah. Now with the graphite pencil, we're going to add some shading in that those parts that we put the stripes in.
And you can work with the ink lines, like where it is the closest together. That's already dark, so you can like enhance that a little bit, like we did on the paradox on day 2, I think.
Yeah. So we're going to add some graphite. How do I describe that? At where the ends of those stripes are.
And sort of like imagining them folding over and under the one next to it.
Right.
And she's putting that down pretty thick because we know we're going to come back with the tortillon and smooth it out.
Hopefully I won't grab the new white one, right?
Right. And
You can see me
pause.
thinking, right?
Yeah, pause and communicate with your tile, because it's going to offer like, okay, this is the direction that I'm now wanting to go. Even if you had an idea when you were starting, oh, I'm going to do this and this and this. Maria is very responsive to the new realities of the tile, and that's why I left that in.
I like that.
And you can have an initial inspiration, but then be responsive.
So here we are adding graphite to those windows with the tipple in there. And I wanted those to sort of set back, be behind.
And so it really enhances that dimensionality. And as we always say, the whole point of shading is that there's some parts that are left unshaded, so you have that, again,
Right.
contrast. You could cover the whole background, and we do in some cases as a texture, but contrast makes that up and down highlights more obvious.
Don't be afraid to look at your tile as you go along and make decisions that you wouldn't have made, like Rick said, because your tile changes every time it goes around in a turn. It's a different tile.
Mm-hmm. And I love that. That's such a wonderful metaphor, for day-to-day stuff, is that, well, you start with an idea and you're doing everything with best intentions, and then new data comes. So with new data, there's new opportunities, new variables.
Ooh, the white.
Right, and this is the beauty of this mid-tone paper, is you can add light as well as add dark.
So we've been waiting to put something there on those stripes that are kind of popping out. Nice.
And it's just that simple. If you look at Renaissance, which is why we called it Renaissance paper, like Renaissance sketches, they would use this mid-tone and just create the most dynamic sketches of what their work was going to be. We were working a project based on Da Vinci's Codex. So if you get a chance, just go online and look at some images of Da Vinci's Codex, and a lot of them will use that technique. So where the highlight would be of that, those various pieces, just adding some white. And the white and the graphite will blend really nicely together.
And keep your sharpener, your larger sharpener, close by, because the white tends to go down faster than the graphite pencil, and you have to sharpen it more often, I find. Ooh, so that little thing right there is, you know that it's curving under.
Just catching the light a bit. And the light and shadow that we do is more a function of pattern rather than, if there was a light source, what would be in shadow or what would not be in shadow, etc.
So I love to do this, especially on a textured background. I like to just put white right over it, and what's happening is it's bringing in another color into your piece on either a white tile or on a gray tile. It almost makes it look like that it's a white tile that you're working on, and it does something different to that.
Look at that.
That's like crazy, right? It lights it up.
It's a great technique because the ink behind it, comes through in this translucent. It's like a translucent cover. Beautiful. And in some ways, what she's doing with the tortillon is more moving the charcoal into the paper fibers, as well as smoothing it out. But
okay, so now with my graphite pencil, I'm going to go make those arms pop out a little bit more. Those I don't know what else to call those,
right.
Fins or whatever.
It does look like a fin.
Yeah.
Right? Dorsal fin.
Yeah.
And this is it's a good example because, we plan these tiles for these projects ahead of time, but the ones that we do when we actually record it, they're always different from the original plan.
Right.
It's that idea of just responding to the tile as it develops.
So we're going to put some white in these window panes. Or is that what would you call it?
That's
right?
what I
The
thought they
windows?
were originally.
Like
yeah.
windows. And like
It
this, you can
feels like
see
that.
the outdoors, the clouds coming through.
Right.
If I had a turquoise pencil, I'd be putting clouds in there. But we're only working in black and white here. So with our graphite pencil, we're going to put some graphite on the left-hand board on the little frames there, and the bottom one. But whichever two you choose, it's fine. It's fine. So it would be like an L shape, right?
Yeah. And again, this is shading as pattern element because obviously it wouldn't be like this if this were a real thing.
Yeah, the light source is going in 4 different directions.
Right.
But that's what I love about shading in Zentangle is that just do it.
Right.
Just do it.
Right. So we have to go back in and miter those corners. Yeah.
I missed one.
For all of you who have been waiting and wondering what is
she missed one.
She forgot it.
One.
She forgot it. No worries. Go back and get that and then put in all of the shading. Right. Actually, I love doing that because when you're working on something and you want to do a particular thing on repetitively, there's always that search and hunt to find if you've got all of the pieces. Yeah, this is where the tortillon really shines
Right,
in,
right.
in smoothing and filling that section.
And it gives it a different color.
Mm-hmm.
A different color, different texture. It softens it.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
That's really cool.
Now I'm going to go in and add a little love here and there, especially when you're doing a lot of white chalk. I go in and get the edges a little crisper.
Right, because it's, and we'll do that also with, even with the gray ink. I mean, with the charcoal. Let me get my words correct. The graphite will sort of subdue the black lines. You can go put the black back over the graphite. And you might not notice it, but look at the difference that makes.
It's all these little tiny things that you do as an artist, as opposed to a technician, that make your compositions sing.
And using the tortillon's always at a really low angle. Leaving a little highlight.
Going in and adding a little bit more shading under that arc.
Right, because you would put the white charcoal
right,
over
right.
the original shading. Yeah, so you can go back and forth and layer this multiple times. Right, just checking in each time. I like that center black bead with the highlight. Okay, so
Here we go.
now why did Maria put those scores in?
So we're going to fold the straight line ones up towards you. Already looks kind of cool, right? And now we're going to carefully bend the curves in the other direction, so towards the back.
So this fold is very similar to the one that you did on the second day with that Zendala box
The
we
ornament,
made.
yeah.
The ornament.
So you can see I'm kind of molding and sculpting this piece.
And doing it a little bit each time, so you don't have to do the entire fold. We're just working with it, understanding how the limits of the paper are.
That's right, and getting a feeling for it. So it's got some. It looks architectural.
Yeah, it's a little dome shape coming
Almost
up there.
like a rose design on the middle.
Right. So Maria.
Okay, so let me explain this. So we do these things ahead of time, and then we go back and comment on them. And while we're filming them, we turn the camera on and off, get up and answer the door, or get up and answer the phone, or whatever. And sometimes we forget to put the camera back on.
To press record.
So press record. And when I was showing this on the piece that we just drew on, I had forgotten to turn it back on. So I created another shape like this to show you how the glue was done. But in essence, I've already done it once before. And
so she's done 2 flaps, not all 4. She's just done 2 flaps.
I'm not sure what the timing is on this particular glue and how much time you have between the time you put it on and the time it will still stick. So I wanted to do just the 2 first. And you can see how I'm showing some of the black. Now, this is the key on there.
Right.
You want black showing because it's going to push the middle up.
Right.
That's what's going to cause this to come up in the middle, right? To have some
To make it dimensional, which is the theme of this whole series. So you can see the way the light is, how that is pushing up, and using our wonderful clamp paper clips here.
So
we'll
technical,
hold those, right?
Do you know that they're called trombones?
Yes.
I love that because if you look at them, they do look like a
Right.
trombone.
So we've got those two sides clamped. And now Maria's going to
Do one.
do some adhesive on just one. And then we'll get that one clamped.
Now we have to push that. If you can see me pushing it so that
Right.
you have that black showing. See, it has to have that black showing.
And about the same amount. And have that idea of the black as an aura.
So I just took a rag and kind of took some of that glue off. But you can use like a paper towel or whatever. I always have rags on the table. Put your trombones down.
Right?
Now here is the key here.
We just have too much fun with this.
I know. What do we put inside this piece? So we decided we're going to put some coffee beans. But you could put macaroni or rice or lentils or anything of those kinds of things. And also you could put things that smell good. Some lavender. I would suggest putting the rice and the little shake it up things in and the lavender
All together.
Right.
That would be really nice. The coffee
Right.
actually smells pretty good.
Yeah, this coffee smells pretty good. But I like the idea of shaking it up. If you had
Right.
lavender in there, you would awaken it every once in a while so
Right,
that you
right.
can get to smell how beautiful it is. I also think that you can spray a scent, perfume or men's cologne or whatever it is you want to put on a paper towel or something, a little piece of cloth, and stick that in there too. Shake it up every once in a while, and we're going to put some holes on the top so that you can actually smell what's inside.
And again, you see how Maria's pushed that in so it's got the same gap all around.
And you want those corners where they come together to seal. So you can see me pushing them down with my nails, and they stay actually pretty well.
Right? And you can really appreciate the three-dimensional there
Right.
and the cool sounds.
So here we go. We have a little tambourine. We call it a tambourine, and
So that's how, and tambourine, you could put some thyme in it.
we could put thyme. You could put any kind of, not basil, but oregano. Anything
Right.
that makes sense for your family or
Makes
whatever.
sense.
Makes sense. Yeah, this tea. So here we have it's a shaker. You can hear it, and we're going to pierce this.
Right.
I have a kind of a fat needle, but I'm sure a nail would do. If you could see how big the end is, and I'm just kind of sticking it where those circles were between the well,
Right. The well inside the fangle.
right, the well inside the fangle. Here they are, and it's actually just enough to let the scent out,
Yeah.
and you can do it in the middle too.
And so you've got this auditory treat, this visual treat, this olfactory treat.
Yeah, I'm taking that the scoring device and just making those holes maybe just a tiny bit bigger. Taking your time, you don't want to rip that or anything, and still kind of shaking around. It's really cool, right?
Right.
And there's one thing I had forgotten to do. Here is the white jelly roll, and I just wanted to brighten those black spots a little bit, and it reminds me of a starry sky, a starry night, right? And then I went into the middle of the
Ball bearing.
ball bearing and added some highlights there too. And here's my chop.
This is a really fun one.
This was a fun one, and I love the idea that, don't forget that you can always go back, even the next day, if you have an idea in the middle of the night, which is what happens to me.
Very architectural with
Yeah.
the. It's really fun.
I love the contrast of the straight lines and those curved fangle.
Yeah. So thank you so much for playing with us again, and we look forward to what you create
Yeah,
and seeing it.
Can't wait to see it.
Awesome.
See
Bye
you
now.
later. Bye.